Welcome to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Your guide on this journey is Amy Silvas. If you're ready for the secrets to an abundant life, hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started.
Everyone, I could not be more delighted to welcome you to this episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. This is Amy Silvas, your host, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to my dear, dear friend, Stacey Carr. Stacey, good to have you.
I'm so happy to be here.
Oh gosh, what a delight. We just spent a good 25 minutes catching up before hitting record. So we're both all smiles, reminiscing, talking about, just our amazing friendship over the years, and decided, hey, we need the audience to be able to hear this, and more importantly, hear about Stacey's incredible journey, what her life has been like, and all the good stuff. So give us a little bit about you. I know that question is always awkward, like, hey, tell us about you. But yeah, give us a little preview as to who you are.
Well, thank you again for having me. It's so great to catch up, and it's so great to be here. So a little bit about me. So I am currently living in London, in West London in Shepherd's Bush. I grew up in Reno, Nevada, but spent 21 years in Los Angeles, going to college, building a career in entertainment. My background is in unscripted development, so known to most people as a reality TV. And I really just spent several years, probably the last 15 years, really kind of coming up in the entertainment industry, working for cool companies like the Oprah Winfrey Network, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and Endemol Shine. But I just had this big dream to move to London. I had first come out here in 2011. It really stuck with me. And I just always thought, like, maybe it could be a place that I could work and live, because working in entertainment, you can't just live anywhere. It's like LA, New York, and London. And London was just always kind of on the radar. And somewhere around 2016, I was working at my dream company at the time, which was OWN. I just sort of started praying and was kind of just thinking, like, what's next for me? And I just really felt like it was almost like a divine download that came to me that, like, London was next. And so I just spent the last several years trying to figure out how to get out here. And then August 2021, I made the jump and finished all my immigration August 2022. So I've been just really building a new life, building a new career out in London, in my dream city, and really just, just enjoying this new chapter of my life.
Incredible. And I know you and I have talked about just, gosh, I mean, I can't believe it's 2024. You've lived there almost 3 years, but the privilege that it was to be able to talk to you, and we'll unravel kind of how we know each other and all that great stuff, because I think it's important for folks to understand. But
yeah,
from my perspective, being able to watch you have this dream on your heart, and to see you, pray, asking God, what is next? And, trying to, just navigate that, bringing it all the way to realization. And now you're actually living it, has been so, so special. I think you and I became close. Was it 2017?
I think so.
I think it was right there. Oh yeah. Close to when husband Joel and I got married, and we met at church. Actually, how would you describe Starting Point?
Starting Point is an 8-week course where people can gather in a safe space to explore the fundamentals of the Christian faith, right? So it's basically a place where you can ask a bunch of questions. You're really learning about the very, very basics. So wherever you're at in your spiritual life, whether you're just, curious, you've been in church a long time, you haven't had an opportunity to ask like some very fundamental questions, it's just really a safe space to be able to do that. So yes, I was like co-leading a group that you were in. And yes. I remember we had a super tight-knit, close group, and that was, I want to say, the very first one I co-led. And it was just such a strong group. We had such great relationships in that group.
Incredible. And we became close and both began talking about our dreams and what life might look like. On this podcast, we talk about abundance and really daring to think about something that I'm not sure, at least that I've encountered, you can tell me how you feel, at least here stateside, that people dare to dream about. It is really this: go to school, get a good job, pay the mortgage, have 2.5 children, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. But for some people, maybe life could feel more fulfilling and abundant in a different way. And I just love I don't know too many people that have picked up and said London is calling, to be cliche, and followed their dreams. I know you've never heard that before. So clever me. But I'd love to dive more deeply into kind of what that looked like, whether it was spiritually, whether it was career-wise, any place you'd like to start about how you did that, because it's not easy, but I know folks in our audience are dying to hear what that has looked like for you.
Anytime you are about to embark on moving abroad, there's just a lot of research that goes into it, right? And the very first thing is like immigration. How can I get a visa to get over here? And so there's so much research that goes into, how can I actually make this happen? Is it something that I can do through work or through school? What are my options? What's the timing? So I think so much of it just started with what does it even look like to be able to go over there? And so much of that really sort of taps into networking and tapping into your community and talking to people. Who do you know who's been there? Who do you know who's done it? And let me talk to HR. Let me just start telling everybody that I have this dream so I can put it out into the world so I can keep myself accountable. Through that, you never know who might know who and who might have a connection, who might introduce you to that person so that that person can give you some more information. So really around 2016, but I think particularly 2017, I just started talking about it a lot. I'm someone who makes a vision board every January, and I just kept putting London and the UK flag. And it was just something that I started working toward. And so for me, what I had found was that it wasn't necessarily going to be possible for me to go through my company at that time. So I was like, let me get into a company that has a UK parent company or has a UK office and just let's see what's possible. And I ended up trying that a couple times. And, I'm still working. I'm still thinking that going through work is the best way to do it. I didn't seem to really qualify for anything else. I should also mention that during this time, I'm probably in my mid to late 30s. I'm single. I don't own a house or anything. So I don't have a lot of sort of external factors that I'm needing to sort out. It's more of just how am I going to figure this out and get out there? Also, 2018, I took a trip out there and I was like, let me make sure that I'm not fantasizing this, but let me just do a little scouting trip, see if I can get, be out there on my own. And more, I was just like, okay, no, I definitely feel it. I can see it. I can see my family coming to visit me here. And so it was a couple instances where I was seeing if it was possible through my companies, and it just kind of kept not being. And I decided, you know what, this doesn't seem to be working out, but I just feel this draw to go there. And it's just too clear. It's too persisting and I can't ignore it. So if I go out there, there's got to be something that I'm going to find. So let me just go out there and see. So I had actually just decided to essentially just go out there for a few months as a tourist, because Americans can be there for up to 6 months without anything, and just start figuring stuff out. Now, I had decided to do this at the end of 2019, Amy, and I was going in early 2020. And so, as we all know, no one did anything in 2020 because of COVID. So I ended up waiting out all of COVID. It wasn't really clear to go until August of 2021. So I really spent all that time, finishing up at my company, closing out everything in LA, and really just saying, you know what, I'm really going to go for it. And I think especially because of COVID and how much we lost and how much everyone was reevaluating their lives, it was just you know what, there's no way now, especially, I'm not going to do this. And so I ended up taking the leap. I was doing some freelance consulting. So I had a flexible schedule. I was, still working a little bit, but it was flexible. So I could do that while I was figuring things out. I was staying in Airbnbs. I was tapping into my networks and just going through my personal list of personal and professional contacts from friends in LA and just really starting to build a life. And it wasn't until I had been there for so many months that I realized that I had actually already qualified for the best, most flexible visa possible, because I had been nominated for an award for one of the big specials that I had worked on during COVID. So I actually initially went out to look for a job that would give me sponsorship, but then I found out later that I had a visa where I didn't need to have that.
Oh my gosh.
So in case anyone's wondering, it's called a global talent visa, which, I don't need to be attached to a company, a school, a person. It's really quite flexible. And leads me onto different paths down the line that could eventually lead to living here permanently, becoming a citizen. So there's a lot of flexibility within that, which has led me to explore a lot of flexibility in my life now, which we can get into later. But
Yeah.
essentially, it was just a slow and steady, let's see what the years bring sort of process. How can I go? And, I should also mention that I don't think that this particular visa was something that I qualified for earlier in the game, right? It was something that changed and became available later. And it wasn't even on my radar. It wasn't really in existence before.
Wow.
Sometimes you can start out on a journey and your very best option doesn't even come until later, right? So I think it's important for people to realize that some dreams and some endeavors are more of a marathon than a sprint. And even if we want to sprint, there's probably a reason why you should take your time.
So perfectly said, because we don't always have the access to, or the ability to see the full picture, exactly as you said, of what pieces are moving into place, what pieces are in place, what pieces aren't, are there that shouldn't be there. There's a lot of moving parts. And I love that there's so much I want to talk about based on what you just said there, but let's talk about that vision board, if you don't mind. You said you do it every January. What goes on there for people that are interested in? How can we relate that to abundance? Are there some do you frame it in that way in terms of what you put there? What does that look like? And what's the motivation behind it?
That's such a great question, Amy. I think a lot of people think about vision boards differently. A lot of people use manifestation, and it's a word that I don't really personally use much because I believe in God and I believe in prayer. And someone may argue that manifestation and prayer may go hand in hand, but I don't really understand manifestation in that way, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I've always looked at vision boards as it's like putting your prayers up on a wall.
Okay.
The idea behind them is that you put things on there that are impossible, that are so big, that are the feeling you want to feel, that are the dreams you want to accomplish. You have no idea how it's going to be possible. I think sometimes you put things up on there that might be kind of possible, but the idea is that you put the biggest things on there. I remember I used to do vision boards with a friend of mine and she put billionaire on hers and she's like, I don't even know if I want to be a billionaire, but I'm just going to put it up. And I was like, do it.
Yeah.
You either tear images out of a magazine or from Pinterest or however you want to get them, and you put them up, you put them in a place where you can see them every day. I have a lot of quotes on mine. I have a few prayers on mine. And the idea is that you're just always keeping in mind these things that you want to see happen in your life. And by looking at them, you're almost putting that prayer up to God every day to say, this is something that I believe will happen, that I trust you with. And there had been so many times where I had seen things happen. I had dreamt to work for the Oprah Winfrey Network for years. I put that on my very first vision board and I got that job 6 months later. There were also just other small things. I would just put celebrities on there that I really liked and admired and was just I just like her style, but then ended up finding myself in a meeting with them later on that year where it was I didn't even think, I wasn't even trying to meet them, but here we are, So there were always, instances where I saw things happen. So I had reason to believe that this was something that I should keep doing. And just year after year, I was just I'm just going to keep putting the UK on here. One of the things that I put up on my vision board was feeling right at home in a faraway place. And even just how quickly I was able to build a community in London once I got here. I was just wow, because that's when you feel at home, right? You can go somewhere, enjoy your travels, and I'm abroad and stuff, but not until you have a community, people that you can reach out to, people you're going to invite to your birthday party, and they're going to come.
Yeah.
And you feel I live here.
Yeah.
This is where I'm supposed to be.
Special. Wow. That's great. And you continue to do vision boards every January?
I do. I want to say, I don't know if I did one in 2022 because I was traveling a bunch. When I was hopping around a bunch, Amy, before I got fully settled, and I was I can't be lugging a vision board or
but you're living your vision board.
Exactly.
Everywhere you went.
Fully immigrated and fully settled. I make them again. Yeah. So 22 was the only year that I missed.
Fair enough. We'll allow it.
Thank you.
I would love to pivot into what I think I heard you say. Please confirm this is what I heard, but you were looking for a job, a sponsor, this bridge to get to the UK, but ultimately you went without that structure. Is that right? Is that what you said?
Right.
And it's so important. I've learned this as an entrepreneur. Other people I've talked to about this of, I don't know where we get this idea. Maybe it's just a safety and security thing of, oh, I'll take the next step when I see that step right there. But very often the things happen when you're just taking the step and trusting that the road will meet you where you step. I don't know if that analogy makes sense, but how did you get the courage to do that? What did that look like for you?
Good question, Amy. I will say I've always been someone who's a bit bold and a risk taker. Okay. So I'm one of those people. I'm a person of my word. I really do mean them. I really do believe that things are possible. Yeah. And I had seen big things happen in the past, right? Like I always wanted to move to LA from a small town and work in entertainment. And I did. I think things could happen. Like, I feel like I'm being drawn to this place. It's been going on for so long. Like there's something out there. Like, yeah. And I think there was also just a time in my life too, where I was like, I've kind of really done LA, you know, like I have been here. I have made the friends. I have had the cool jobs. I've met the celebrities. I've gone to the events. I've worked at the places I want to work. I've had some really great experiences. And not that I, was done having fun and doing those things, but just like, I felt like that chapter was closing. So for me, it wasn't like, oh, I have all these things that I still need to do here. So I feel like there's got to be something else. Why don't I try this place that keeps on seeming like a yes? And I just felt like I would be able to figure it out. And so, I think it's definitely worth saying that, I had also a lot of savings, right? So, I had spent a lot of time, being a single person, living pretty simply in LA, paying off all of my bills, paying off absolutely everything, and really, really saving. So I was in a position to where I could explore a bit and figure out like, okay, what does a new life look like? I have some time to suss that out. Yeah. And, also, as I mentioned, being an American in the UK, you can be there for up to 6 months, at least as a visitor or a tourist. And I was like, I feel like I could go out for this initial stint and just start building a life and see what comes. Yeah. So I went out for an initial stint. I went back to the States and finished up a couple things. I came back out for like another 4 months. And I want to say it was like a couple months in that I was like, oh, here's the visa option. Here it is. I knew it. But I didn't know it was even going to be that good, Amy.
Wow.
And the thing is, I haven't talked too much about it just yet, but I've gotten into consulting. So I always worked for big companies. And now I work with individuals and companies, helping them to develop content. And my heart is specifically for up and coming and underrepresented creatives, and really big on diversity, inclusion, representative content. Yeah. How can I help people move their projects forward? How can I help companies get into new spaces? So everything I do is with sort of a DEI lens. And there is something to working independently. And so there was this part of me that was like, I don't know if I really even want to be tied to a company. So even when I first came out here, it felt weird to be essentially meeting companies and asking them to potentially sponsor me, because I was just like, I don't like, well, number one, it's not really that appealing to them, but also I don't know if I want to be attached in that way. Yeah. And it didn't need to be. And so I've just been able to explore the different ways my career could look without having to be super tied to this one route. And, if for whatever reason something happened to that company, my immigration would be in turmoil, And so yes. It's even things like that, Amy, where it's like, it's been a glorious journey, which we'll continue to talk about, but a bumpy road. But because of things like that, it's like, we came this far to get the best visa option. Come on. Am I not supposed to be there or what?
Right. Clearly. Wow. I think the very first guest I had on this episode, his name is Trevor McGregor. He's one of my business coaches, and he talks about the fact that God or the universe, however you want to kind of frame it or call him or it, it's your job to place the order. It's God or the universe's job for how to fulfill it. So meaning you don't go to the restaurant and say, I want a burger, and then go in the kitchen and say, well, this is how you cook the patty, and this is how you source the lettuce, and this is where how you cut the tomato. Like you place the order and then it shows up. So it really reminded me of this, you had this dream, very clear calling to go to the UK And yeah, to your point, maybe it seemed like, yeah, someone sponsoring you, that was how it had to go. But my gosh, it turned out even better, more flexible, more suited to your goals and what your freedom, I would argue, in some ways. That's just amazing. Wow. I didn't know that detail. That's really special.
It's really exciting. Yeah.
That's great. Well, and we talked before we started to record is, we're not going to make this be all rainbows and unicorns. There are bumps in the road. That is part of taking risks and follow your dreams. Is there what does that look like now that you've been there for a couple of years? Do you mind sharing kind of some challenges that you've encountered, how you've overcome them, or what you're currently doing to work through them? Have you ever thought about having multiple streams of income? Instead of relying on just one stream of income where you're trading your time for money, how would you like to free up more of your time and live a more abundant life? As a listener of the show, you're invited to attend one of our upcoming trainings where I'll give you an inside look into how you can add passive income and get all the other perks of recession-resistant real estate investing without the headaches of being a landlord. I'll also be sharing some hidden mistakes to avoid and the criteria I personally look for when evaluating potential investment opportunities. To reserve your seat for free, go to silvuscapital.com/webinar. Again, that special link to reserve your seat for free is silvuscapital.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you on the training. And now back to the show.
Even though I've come out here in just such a cool way, essentially in my own terms, feeling led by God to come here, I think because I didn't come through school or through a company like most expats do, essentially I'm starting, from the bottom in a way. Not totally, because I have a ton of experience.
Yes.
I have a point of view and, lots to offer people. I'm still a new person to everyone else. I haven't worked at a ton of UK companies. I haven't worked a ton in Europe. And those are things that a lot of people still really value, And so much of my time here has really been spent on the ground, meeting people, getting to know the entertainment landscape. But also, I'm also interested in philanthropy and volunteering and the charity spaces. So I really just had the flexibility to be led by my values. I also, serve and do a bunch of stuff with my church. So I've been able to do a bunch of different things that I care about while just figuring out what's the entertainment landscape out here. And the truth is also, Amy, is that it is a smaller market. It's not Hollywood, the Mecca that I came from. Yeah. There's not much opportunity in all these jobs around and all these vacant jobs around, right? And so it's not like a ton of people are like, oh my God, we're dying to put in this American Girl that we don't know, And so there have been a ton of companies that have been willing to meet. And, I have worked with, a bunch of them, but then there's also a lot of people who haven't necessarily been super open. So I'm still in this place of building this professional profile from a place of, really just starting from the ground and what I've been doing currently and not having this big company name behind me, but, going in with what I have done and with what I want to do and how I want to contribute. And so, yeah, it's also just been interesting because this is the first time that I haven't really worked for a company. So it's also just being an independent consultant. Being a consultant often involves a lot of hustling. And there have been times where I found myself very tired because in addition to hustling for work, I also moved across the country on my own. And there's a lot of logistics involved in that. There's a lot of settling in once you actually do, get here as an official immigrant. There's a lot of stuff, to wrap your head around. There's all these new systems. There's all these things to learn. And there have been times where I'm just like, what? I'm exhausted. I just need to get a job, and take a load off. And so, I'm still, open to a full-time job, but also because I've had this time to explore, and I think with the entertainment industry as it is, which is just kind of in a crazy place, all over the world right now, I think what I'm going to end up having is probably more of a portfolio career where I'm going to be doing a bunch of different things. Living in a place with socialized healthcare makes that a little less stressful because we're all at least looked after. But yeah, I think the hardest part has been building a professional profile, essentially from scratch as someone in their 40s who has, worked a bunch, and just feeling like I have to try to prove that all again, I think has been a bit difficult. But I still feel really optimistic, and I love living here. And so it's just a lot of fun. And I think the other positive aspects of my life sort of give me the gas to keep going in this one area.
I could see that. I could see, yeah, definitely drawing from community, from your faith community, friends. Yeah, all of your drive to live out your values and make a difference in that respect would really help fuel that, even when the road gets, I was going to say a tad bit bumpy, but I'm sure it can get a bit more than a tad.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. What differences have you noticed? I mean, I think almost every American has heard the term of Americans live to work, and maybe other people across the pond, like in Europe or in the UK, work to live.
Yeah.
As you think about what the work life has been like there, getting to know people, how people think about abundance in their lives, what differences have you seen, if any?
And such a good question, Amy. It is very different. I think there is some truth to, Americans, living to work and Europeans working to live. I definitely notice that to an extent. But when we talk about, abundance, which might, mean different things to different people, but I see it as, freedom, hope, going after the things that you want to be doing in life, being rich in relationship. And I think that one of the foundations of abundance is really just believing that you can have it in your life, right? Mm-hmm. And I think so much of that idea is wrapped up in the American dream. And what America was even founded on was that you can do anything. And through hard work, perseverance, whatever it might be, things are possible. And as we all know, Amy, it hasn't always been possible or easy for everybody, but we are ingrained with the idea that it is possible, right? So that is a very sort of American cultural thing that's in us. And that's not the foundation that the UK was built on, right? So much of them is just like, okay, we're born into a certain, state, certain class. We need to kind of pick a track and then stay in it. So you see a lot more people who are like, okay, I've been in this lane forever. I'm going to stay in this job. This company's working out. I got my family, live in our house. We're going to take our holidays all these times where everyone else does. Yeah. I'm like, cool, And so I think there's more of an acceptance of what is. And I don't want to necessarily call it apathy or even say that it's a bad thing, but there's not necessarily this ideology of like, oh, there's so much more I could have. We could aim for this, or we could be making more money if we did X, blah, blah, blah. And I think that culturally, that is the biggest difference, is that in America, we always know that there could be more that we could have and go after. But I think that, again, that's the foundation of that country was based on. But in the UK, it wasn't. And so it's like, if that's not where you're starting from foundationally as a nation, the people aren't going to necessarily feel that same sort of, I guess, hope or drive.
It's fascinating. That has its pluses and minuses, right? Yeah. If you're constantly chasing something because you believe it's possible, but maybe, that drives you to sacrifice other areas of abundance in your life, maybe maybe that comes at a price.
I think there's definitely something you could pull, because sometimes it is worth thinking, like, how much do I actually need, or, can I be grateful with what is happening right now, So it's definitely interesting to ponder the different ways of doing life, so to speak.
That's so great. So as we get towards the end here, I'd love to hear, given what you've been through, where you live now, what you've accomplished, what does abundance mean for Stacey Carr now, and what do you want more abundantly in your life moving forward?
Oh, good question. I always think of relationships. I love you, and I are really active on LinkedIn. And I posted recently that I think people are our greatest assets in life. And I think being rich in relationship, personally and professionally, however you want to think about it, is really important, because having a community of support around you for anything that you need in life is just crucial. And to just feel like there's people out there that you can trust, and also people that you can help. I think generosity has become more and more important to me over the years because we have so much and we can help make other people's lives easier by giving to them. So I think always having and looking for opportunities to do that is what abundant living is.
Wow.
I think being able to live in and explore your values, one of the things I've been thinking of, we get so caught up in a job and what does this job or what does this workplace offer us? More and more, I think we're seeing that it's only so much, right? And so I think, especially post-COVID, and I think so many more people are like, what else is there? And I think if you're just finding ways to invest in other people, you're exploring your values, you're exploring your hobbies, the joys in your life, and finding ways to engage with those things, whether or not it's in your workplace or not, I think that is abundant living. Going after the things that bring you joy. So yeah, I just want to, as much as, there is part of me right now that's like, a full-time job would be cool just to have a little bit of stability. Because of this journey that I've been on, I'm just so much more open to doing different things. Like I mentioned earlier, I envision me having more of a portfolio career. I'm interested in helping people, but I also want to build up my industry. I want to speak. I want to be doing different things. I want to be moderating panels, different things like that. So I just don't want my, career or job to look like one thing. I want to be always doing a bunch of different things to not only challenge myself, but to help other people.
Incredible. You are an incredible woman, Stacey. I'm so grateful to call you a friend, a mentor. Gosh, I'm so glad everyone got to join this conversation that we just had. How can people best get a hold of you if they want to work with you or have you speak for them or, whatever that might look like?
Amy, please find me on LinkedIn. I stand LinkedIn. It's becoming such a vibrant platform. So, please, follow me on there, reach out, connect with me. I think that's really the best place to keep the conversation going. Or if you would like to work together or learn more about what I do, I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn.
Perfect. We'll put your link in the episode notes. Thank you once again, my friend, for a great conversation. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Wishing you a lot of abundance. Talk to y'all soon.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Silvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.